A young couple moved into an old apartment in a European city center in 2016. The building was over 70 years old, with high ceilings, creaky floors, and a persistent smell of dust and dampness. The rent was surprisingly cheap, but they decided to take it. For the first few weeks, everything seemed normal. Then, around 2:45 a.m., they started hearing noises. At first, faint cracking sounds coming from the living room wall. Later, soft scratching noises, growing slightly louder over time. And then, whispers. Low and indistinct, like muffled voices just beyond comprehension. He pressed his ear to the wall several times, trying to catch a word or phrase, but it was always too faint. They called a plumber, then an electrician, but no issues were found. One night, frustrated and curious, he used a hammer to break open a small section of the wall. As the plaster fell away, a musty, damp smell escaped. Behind the wall was an empty cavity, roughly the size of a small closet. Inside, they found old pieces of fabric, strands of human hair, and, beneath it all, skeletal remains. Deep scratches lined the interior walls of the cavity, evidence of desperate attempts to escape. The police were called. An investigation revealed the remains had been there for decades, likely the victim of a crime long buried. After the discovery, the noises stopped. But the weight of that secret lingered, a constant reminder of the dark history hidden behind the walls they called home. In 2018, I was called out to fix a Wi-Fi issue at a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. It was a rainy afternoon, the sky heavy with dark clouds even though it was still early in the day. The kind of weather that makes the whole place feel cold and a little uneasy. The house looked old, but well kept. The owner, an elderly woman, told me the Wi-Fi signal would always drop whenever it rained. She seemed calm, maybe a bit used to the problem. I set up my equipment and started testing the signal. The rain was steady, tapping against the windows. That's when I heard it, a soft, clear voice, whispering something I couldn't understand. I froze. I looked around the empty house, but I didn't see anyone. Confused, I asked the woman if she had a child living there. She shook her head and told me she lived alone. Then, a little later, I heard the voice again, clearer this time, coming from a different room. I noticed a closed door in the corner of that room. When I opened it, a cold breeze hit me, even though there were no windows or vents open anywhere nearby. The door led to a small, empty closet. No furniture, no signs of anything living there, just dust and shadows. That was the last straw. I finished the repairs as fast as I could and left right away. Since then, whenever I work in that neighborhood, my eyes always drift back to that house. I don't know what I heard that afternoon. Maybe it was a trick of the wind, or a sound from somewhere else. But it stuck with me. That quiet, desperate voice. It's hard to forget. It happened back in 2012, in a small city in Brazil called Batim. A rideshare driver was working late at night, hoping to make some extra cash. He always said he preferred driving at night, less traffic, more peaceful rides. But that night, peace was the last thing he would find. Around 3 a.m., his phone buzzed with a new ride request. The pickup location was on a rural road, right next to a eucalyptus plantation. The area was poorly lit, almost pitch black, with trees leaning over the road like they were hiding something. When he arrived, his headlights barely cut through the darkness. For a few seconds, it seemed like no one was there. But then, he saw her. A woman standing on the shoulder of the road, wearing a long white dress. Her hair was soaked, covering most of her face. Her head hung low, as if she was crying, or staring at something on the ground. Without saying a word, she got into the back seat. The driver asked where she wanted to go, but the only response was a quiet, barely audible voice, giving him a vague answer, something like, home. No address. No street name. Just home. The GPS already had a destination entered, about 15 minutes away, so he started driving. As the car moved down the winding road, he tried to start a conversation. Basic stuff, are you okay? Rough night. The usual small talk. But she stayed silent. Completely still. The air inside the car grew colder, and an odd smell began to fill the space, something between wet soil and wilted flowers. With only a few minutes left before reaching the destination, he glanced at the rearview mirror, and froze. The back seat was empty. The car was still moving. The doors were locked. But she was gone. Panicked, he pulled over, jumped out, and checked the entire vehicle. The seat where she had been sitting still showed the clear impression of a person, as if someone had been there just moments before. Shaking, he drove straight home, parked the car, and turned off his phone. He never accepted another ride from that area, especially not at 3 a.m.